All right, picture this. You win the race. You beat your biggest rival fair and square on the racetrack. And then you lose the championship anyway, not because of anything that happened on track, but because of a half-inch piece of metal. That's exactly what happened to Mark Martin in 1990. And today we're breaking down exactly how it happened. And hey, real quick, if you are a true NASCAR fan like me, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe to the channel. NASCAR Nation News is just getting started. We are pushing for our next subscriber milestone, and it's all about real talk from fans who live this sport every week. All right, let's get into it. Mark Martin is one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history, but he never won a Cup Series championship. He finished second in the standings 5 separate times. And out of all of those close calls, his very first runner-up finish back in 1990 is arguably the most painful one to look back on. Here's what happened. At Richmond, Martin had just won a Cup Series race for the second time in his career. He beat Dale Earnhardt after a late race caution gave him a shot to make his move on pit road. Martin came out ahead of Earnhardt after taking 2 tires on that final stop, and from there, he pulled away and took the win. But the celebration didn't last long. After the car rolled into the garage and the crew popped the hood to get ready for post-race inspection, rival team owner Richard Childress walked a NASCAR official over to Martin's car and pointed out a technical violation. What they found was an issue with the carburetor spacer. Now, here's where it gets complicated. The rule only allowed a 2-inch spacer. Martin's car had one measuring 2.5 inches. But according to the article, this wasn't some intentional cheat. Earlier in the season at the Daytona 500, NASCAR had allowed teams to weld the intake manifold so it sat an inch higher, which effectively gave teams a 3-inch gap between the manifold and the carburetor. Martin's team thought that same 3-inch allowance applied at Richmond too. So instead of welding the manifold like they did at Daytona, they just bolted on a 2.5-inch spacer to get that same clearance. And here's the thing. Martin didn't gain any kind of competitive advantage from that spacer. The real issue was that his team achieved the clearance a different way than NASCAR's instructions specified. What made it even more frustrating is that the car had already passed 3 separate inspections before the race even started. In the end, Martin kept the win at Richmond, but his team was fined $40,000 and Martin lost 46 championship points. At the time, he didn't realize just how much those points would end up mattering. After that penalty, Martin went on an incredible run. Following his next DNF, he finished 14th or better in each of the next 26 races, which made him Earnhardt's biggest challenger for the championship simply through sheer consistency. About a third of the way through the season, Martin actually took the points lead and held on to it for 16 straight races. But with just 2 races left, Earnhardt took the lead back. When it was all said and done, Martin finished the season with 3 wins, 16 top 5 finishes, 23 top 10 finishes, and 3 poles. But Earnhardt won the championship by just 26 points. And that's when that Richmond penalty became impossible to ignore, because according to the math, if it wasn't for that inspection that Childress initiated, Martin would have finished the season 20 points ahead of Earnhardt. For Martin, at the time, the penalty felt manageable. It was only the second race of the season after all. But by November, that half-inch spacer had turned into one of the biggest what-ifs of his entire career. So here's the question for you guys down in the comments. Do you think that penalty was fair, or do you think it cost Mark Martin a championship he rightfully earned? Let us know what you think down below. And if you enjoyed breaking down this piece of NASCAR history with us, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join the NASCAR Nation News family. We'll see you in the next one.